back on the main stage, and this is going to be the last big bang before we get to the winners are. So I hope you all have been having a great day so far. We had an electrifying pitch conference so far. We've had 3 amazing workshops, and now you get to have a conversation with us as we talk about all things entrepreneurship. So I'm your host, Dwania. You met me earlier today, but you can meet me again. I will also be joined by our lovely panelists. We have Cheryl Haskett, we have Christina Crowley-Arklie, and we have Aicha Smith-Belghaba. Now, these ladies are going to tell you a lot of things about what they've been through. But before we do that, I want to have a reminder. If you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments box because we will be taking questions at the end. And remember, voting is still open for your favorite pitcher. It's going to close as soon as this panel is over. So without further ado, let us get started. So Cheryl, please tell everyone a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Hello. I don't know if you can hear that in the background. I'm getting like a delay. So nobody's getting the delay except me. Okay, good. Well, I'm just going to talk over Dwania's beautiful voice that's in my head. I am Cheryl Haskett. I am the CEO and founder of Udderly Ridiculous, and most recently, Udderly Ridiculous Farm Line. So we have a mini go ice cream line that we launched in 2019. And then in 2021, we diversified and opened an on-farm agritourism facility and an on-farm market store. So we're able to support, about 75 other Ontario makers and producers, and we're really excited about that. So I'll pass it over to whoever's next.
Wow, thank you, Cheryl. So we're happy to meet you. And I'm really happy to have all those ice creams on my list of things to purchase. Christina, please let everyone know something about you.
Yeah, sure. So thanks so much for having me here. Wonderful to be a part of this panel. My career trajectory to where I am now as a business owner of Crowley-Arklie Strategy & Co. is quite unique. And when I heard, farm to table, it totally represents, that career trajectory because I come from a dairy farm. My mom and dad and my brothers are now farming there. And then worked for the farmer for a dairy company. And then eventually went and worked in politics, a career trajectory decision I thought I would never, ever go into. Liked politics, but never thought I was going to be a political nerd and love it the way I did. But went and worked for our Minister of Agriculture for the province of Ontario. And then it was after that I decided to start my own business where I do communication strategy, digital marketing, personal branding, public relations for primarily agriculture and food clients, all the way from, again, farm organizations along our value chain, or what we're calling our Canadian food system, all the way through to consumer packaged goods in the agriculture food space. So feel like I get to touch and interact with all parts of our food system. And one of the things I was really proud of a number of years ago was founding Ag Women's Network with some of my colleagues in our agriculture food sector. So can't speak enough to women in business, especially in agriculture and food, and this farm to table conversation that we're having. I couldn't be more excited because I think of, agriculture and food, we need to rebrand to make us more sexy and attractive to Canadians. And this is how we're going to do it through these type of conversations and pitch startups like we're doing today. So a little bit about me.
Wow, thank you. We definitely have to share the information about that ag group because I think it's something that will benefit a lot of people who are here today. Aicha.
Hello. Nice to see everybody's faces and be here with you today. My name is Aicha Smith-Belghaba. I'm from Six Nations and Algeria. So my mom's Mohawk from Six Nations. My dad's Algerian. I'm a chef by trade. So I always introduce myself with my background because it's heavily influenced in my food. How I started, I was a caterer, and then things led into other things. And now I do public speaking events, consulting, content creation, producing. I'm kind of like a Swiss Army knife, like whatever you need from me, I can do it. And I very much am and into Indigenous food sovereignty. So along with my food, I always love to impart pieces of education and knowledge to other people. And in doing so, I'm hoping that I create a better future for everybody that cohabitates together. Because knowledge is power. And when you share that with other people, I feel it creates a better space for everyone.
Wow. Well, I'd like to be the first to say that I'd like to volunteer as a food taster if ever one.
You won't be, I'm sorry, but you're not the first one to volunteer.
Okay, I'm the first on this panel.
Yes. But I have a very big list and I always need taste testers. You're at the top of it.
Okay, so how this is going to work, everyone, we are going to dive right in with questions, and each panelist is going to be the lead on a question, and then we're just going to start talking around it. But if you do have questions in the audience, please feel free to drop them in the chat and drop comments in the chat because we definitely want to see them. So our first question is going to be directed to Cheryl, because I feel like, Cheryl, in reading your bio, you are the definition of farm to table, because you took a giant leap, you know, going from being involved, directly involved with a farm and then deciding to launch a product in March of 2019. And everyone, we all remember what happened in March of 2019. So we can imagine the challenges that you faced. And can you tell us a little bit about how you launched and how you were successful at that launch and some of the challenges that you might have faced and how you overcame them?
Yeah, happy to. And I wasn't a farm kid. So I had to learn farming. I was still working full time as a leadership facilitator. So I was working in the corporate arena, and my husband, we were doing some strategy work. And I said, you know, what have you always wanted? And he said, I've always wanted a product from the farm. I've always wanted to see that progression from, you know, the raw ingredients right through to the customer. And, but he didn't really know how to do that. And I'm a bit of a foodie, kind of like Aicha, not a trained chef, but just this love of food and different textures and different mixtures and being able to bring really good, high quality ingredients together. And so I had a couple of weeks off. My kids had left home prematurely, and I started playing with recipes in the kitchen and, you know, thinking, gosh, goat milk ice cream, I have no idea whether this is going to be any good or not. And I better start, you know, testing this on myself first. And our first, you know, my first sort of like tasters that came who had put up their hand and said, yeah, we'll like be your guinea pigs. They loved it. And so I started, you know, playing around in my kitchen with this. And so when we finally decided, hey, this is something we really want to do, we were looking at a couple of challenges in the industry. One of the things, of course, is for many people, they can't digest goat or like cow dairy. They're lactose intolerant or they're allergic to casein. And so goat milk is an A2 milk and it's lower in lactose. And so has this beautiful thing of being real dairy and all the benefits of that without the pain and the bloating and the suffering. And so we knew that there was so many people of ethnic cultures who can't digest lactose properly, who can't digest casein. And so we knew there was a really good opportunity. Myself, as well as one of my kids, are in that boat. And when I started looking at flavor profiles, I was looking at how do we come out with something, you know, goat milk ice cream is something people might have a question around. How can I make it even more exciting? How can I not just be niche in what we're doing, but be like super niche to the foodies? And so we started working with things like Craft Ontario beer and wine from the VQA, sort of Niagara regions, and lavender grown in Ontario, looking at how we can marry up and collaborate with other producers as well and bring something really unique to the marketplace. And so in 2019, in March, we launched at the One of a Kind show. And so we looked at, who our target market was. It's not kids' birthday parties. It was foodies. It was people having, these opportunities for parties and who really wanted to bring something unique, people who had health concerns around cow milk and consuming that. And so we really launched there, and we launched at what's called Pusateri's in Toronto. So we knew that they were sort of leading edge in terms of bringing in new products and being on the front end of that. And we knew that if we got into Pusateri's, we could leverage that and let other people know that we were there. And so we're really kind of intentional about how we started into the marketplace. And because we were such a niche product, we really didn't have a difficult time like other people do getting on the shelf. And then, of course, we did all these events, and we did like 30 events. We won the Grand Prix of New Products in Canada. We won ribbons at the Royal Winter Fair. It was their first ice cream competition ever. And we won against like Cow Dairy. We won Judge's Choice Award. So we were like, on top of the world, super excited, all over the place. We did like 80,000 samples. People were loving it. They couldn't believe it. And then the pandemic hit. And honestly, like before this, when we got started with the ice cream, I wanted to start in like a little food truck. Like I wanted to start small, grow a base. And then I was told, you can't do that. You're not allowed to do that. So dairy has a lot of regulations and rules. And with goat milk, we have all the rules and regulations without any of the advocacy, marketing, education, and support. And so I was like the one woman show educating people on, most people are like, oh, I can't do dairy. And everyone thinks dairy is just cow milk in North America. And so, we sort of went from wanting to start small to like having to learn, packaging requirements and doing French and English and having everything analyzed and having a 40-foot shipping container with minimum packaging orders and cold storage and, a million other things to go like straight to retail. And so that all on its own was a big challenge. But then when we got out there and we started having some success, we were really excited about that. We were excited about, these chefs and food scientists who were, interested in our product. And then with the pandemic, we couldn't do any education. We couldn't do any sampling. We couldn't do any events. And guess what? Ice cream is really hard to put in the mail, just so you know. So for any of you, I don't recommend starting your first product being ice cream. Not only is it one of the most technically challenging products to make, it's also incredibly sensitive and doesn't ship well. So going to an online store wasn't going to work. And so we had to make some pivots. We did a lot more social media. We were doing our best to stay engaged with people and to stay engaged with our retailers and to beg them not to kick us off shelves prematurely. And then we made a diversification pivot, and people kept saying, can we come to the farm? And we literally opened up our farm to the public. And my background is in facilitation and instructional design. And so we started bringing people to the farm, and we do things like goat yoga and alpaca picnics and taste of farm life. And we're actually, talking to people about animals and food security and agriculture and all of those things. And so we're marrying like this love of food and introducing people to lots of products, not just our own product, but lots of Ontario producers that we met that really had a challenge through the pandemic, who were like us, like they didn't have a market, and we wanted to give them a platform as well. And so we made this like side pivot to keep our business alive, to keep, out there in the marketplace and to hopefully do some good in the middle of that for us, as well as our local, economy and our local producers here in Ontario. So yeah, that's a little bit about us and our challenges.
Wow. I mean, the things that I'm thinking of right now is like, well, I didn't know there was such a thing as alpaca picnic. I don't know what
I
that is. But I
created
will
it.
find
That's
out. I have heard of goat yoga, but the whole concept of you, especially I was talking to you, we were talking backstage, everyone, building on just connecting with other local producers to build your flavors. That's actually a wonderful idea. I mean, if you can share with everyone the flavors so that they can get an understanding. You said, you got lavender and you partnered with some wineries. I think that's, I mean, Christina can tell you because she's like the marketing person, but isn't that a wonderful angle?
Yeah. And I think it's, as women, I think we're more about collaboration instead of competition. And I think, with the local movement, and it's just something that's really good thing to do. I could have just done what everybody else does, which would have been cheaper, create a base and then pop in a flavoring. But I wanted to have something high quality. I wanted it to be healthy, as healthy as ice cream can be. I wanted it to be representative as much as possible of our region. And so we do one that's a mango, like peach and mango puree, which unfortunately we're near Niagara, but I couldn't get access to certified peach puree here, which is insane. Anyway, something needs to be done about that. Our lemon cream, obviously lemon juice, using real lemon, we can't get here. But with the other ones, we have a coffee infused craft Ontario porter beer that's made for us in the Woodstock area. So it's like a little bit of coffee and a caramel undertone, and then a porter, which seems like an odd combination, but it's really, really neat. We have like people who are diehards for that one. We do a spiced pumpkin, but we use real pumpkin. And so it changes the profile and the texture. We use real honey from a local apiary in the area in Aylmer. And then we have our 2 award winners. So our vanilla bean with Ontario grown lavender. So it's grown in Simcoe, Ontario. It's a culinary lavender. Very difficult to work with lavender, just a heads up. And then our Merlot wine. So it's a VQA Merlot in 74% dark chocolate and Dutch cocoa. And yeah, it's really decadent. So it has this sort of cherry tone to it, because the wine actually, most people say, oh, I don't like dark chocolate, but the wine mellows out the bitterness of the dark chocolate and creates this like deep, decadent, moussey, almost cherry profile.
I can see the flavors are chef approved because I see Aicha nodding, and I can see Christina is here for the Merlot and chocolate. Am I right? Okay. I had one other thing. Oh yeah. When I heard about the chocolate or the coffee one, just a shout out there, in the spirit of collaboration, I just tried Care Granola, which I met the founder at one of my events, and she has a coffee flavored granola, and I have some here, and I'm going to find that coffee ice cream, and I am going to make a parfait, the not yogurt kind. Don't judge me. So gonna do that. Okay, so thank you for sharing all that. I do believe that, a lot of people should get knowledge in terms of collaborating. Take the hints on the ice cream, all the things that needed to be considered. There's also that educational component of letting everyone know that just because you're thinking lactose and you're seeing ice cream doesn't mean that it's not for you, right? And yeah, I'm going to try that ice cream. Thank you. So I want to jump into another question here for Aicha, because, fellow lover of food, I like to pretend I'm a chef, but, you are the real chef. And I know that you're very passionate about using food as that canvas for cultural storytelling. And in the earlier pitches, we had quite a few people who were pitching ethnic foods. So what approach should some of our attendees take? And what should they consider when they're presenting cultural components that will be relatively new to their audience?
Thank you for that question. So for myself, how it started was there was a need and there was also a want for those types of foods, right? So I started off with health services in Six Nations. They said, we want pre-contact Indigenous cuisine. And at the time, I was neither professionally trained, nor did I know what that meant. So I've grown up on the reserve my entire life, but due to all kinds of circumstances, like I had to educate myself before I could go educate anybody else. So if you don't know specifics, I just would advise people to do their own background, their research, and then also speak from your heart also, because I grew up with my grandparents. So I would go pick wild clover with my Nana, and we would eat those while laying in the field together, looking at the sky. And she would tell me what was edible and what wasn't. So those things I learned from growing up. And those are some of the stories that you can express with other people. And then that shows your connectedness to the food, and also that it's rooted more than just something that you can eat. It's a memory. It's a tradition, and it's something that's to be passed down on. And then also there's major health benefits as well. So the approach would be speak from the heart. And if you don't know, that's okay. Just tell people what you do know. Because when I did start, I was very much that person. I said, I don't know everything, but here are the things that I do know. And with that knowledge that I do have, this is what I've created for you today. This is why it's important to me. And then I would give some historical facts or facts about nutrients. For example, Haudenosaunee white corn. That was one of our major crops for Haudenosaunee people. So I knew facts about corn. So I would incorporate corn a lot into my cuisine. And as we know, there's the three sisters. So that's corn, bean, and squash. And then you can start off with simple things like that. And it gives educational components. And then you can also relate it back to your cuisine as well. With the corn, we, like most cultures, couldn't process dairy either. So how we got our sources of calcium were through other ways. And one of the ways was we would take our white corn and we would lye it. Now that means you're taking a wood ash and you're boiling the corn in the wood ash, and it puffs it up. It takes the hard like outer shell off, and it looks something like hominy corn. Now that process of using the ash and boiling it actually imparts more calcium into the corn. So these types of processes actually led to a greater health benefit, because we couldn't get our calcium from milk, which is what most people think that you can get calcium from, but you can get it from a lot of other places. So those types of things, people don't know that. And it's an interesting fact. Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you could get calcium from corn. So you might think that it's trivial, but to other people who haven't heard about your culture or experienced the food, that's very valuable information. So don't discredit or disregard anything because you know it on a regular basis, but other people don't know it on a regular basis. And have fun with it too. Just smile, talk about your food, why you love it, why it's so good. And, that gets carried on to your audience and your clients, whoever's eating your food. And it really shows through your work as well.
Wow. I can definitely understand the storytelling aspect and tap into health benefits. I know, Christina, you're nodding. Have you heard a lot of these kinds of storytelling in your life doing marketing for food companies?
Yeah, it's so refreshing to hear Cheryl and Aicha talk about what they were talking about innovation and storytelling, because this is, I think, why this farm to table conversation is becoming, whether we want to call it popular or mainstream. I mean, a lot of people from the agriculture food community would say, well, farming or agriculture and food has always been something that's been popular, but I truly believe it's coming into its own now because of things like social media that's allowed us to storytell and amplify those stories, as Aicha was talking about. And I know in agriculture and food, we talk about misinformation a lot. And so it was wonderful to hear Aicha talk about, you know, education and learning yourself before you go. And you know, I always like to say, instead of education, having conversations with people, because I always joke that when someone says they need to be educated, then my brain tunes out. So it's like, so these conversations that we're having about food is so incredible. It's timely, it's relevant. People care now about their food in a way that I don't think 10, 20 years ago they cared about. And I think, you know, I always say to a lot of the companies too, like, food is the next climate change. You know, David Suzuki was talking about climate change how many decades ago, and food is the next climate change. We have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but also I see so much incredible opportunity. And that's why hearing like Cheryl talk about innovation and sustainability, like that's the future of this food conversation. And I know, you know, one of the questions that I was going to speak to was about government regulations, because you know, that's probably one of our greatest challenges in agriculture and food, is that we have all this incredible innovation and these ideas. And I see the online space growing so much, the storytelling angle, how to market and communicate about food. But then we have this very awkward kind of corporate business-like structure of how agriculture and food is done too. And that's where government regulation comes in. And Cheryl, I can sympathize, and I'm sure the hoops you had to jump through were huge. And so it's kind of like, where can we find that middle ground between these two worlds of like this online innovation space and this corporate, you know, world of agriculture and food, and mix them together. And so government, as an example, you know, I did not understand government before I went and worked in politics, and how, you know, for the people watching, you know, there's 3 layers of government. So it's good to understand that: municipal, provincial, federal. It's good to know who your representatives are. So who you elected, hopefully in the last election, you know, get to know those people's names, because then when you do need to reach out for regulation issues, or if there's anything that's government regulated, then you know who to talk to. So would highly recommend, you know, knowing who your member of provincial parliament is, your MPP, and knowing who your member of parliament is federally. Because one of the greatest things for agriculture and food too is that we actually have a ton of funding programs. So I'm thinking of a lot of these companies that are pitching today. There's a lot of incredible programs and funds out there that would support innovation. So definitely tap into those funds that are out there. And there's also this, you know, it's kind of one of our greatest downfalls, if you will, is that we have a lot of incredible businesses and organizations in agriculture, almost to the detriment of too many. And so we always like, we don't know who's out there, who's working with government, who's, you know, innovating like Cheryl is, who's storytelling like Aicha. And there isn't that collaboration quite like I think we want to see it. So there's so much room for improvement there, but understanding how government works, understanding where you can leverage, you know, funds to really, you know, if you want to make a splash with your business, knowing who to talk to if you get backed into a corner, or how to pivot and innovate. There's so much out there. We just need to, again, create that common space, if you will, for all of us together.
You know, speaking of that common space, because a lot of times we don't tap into, like you said, our elected officials. We have our MPs, and we're, you know, I get a lot of phone calls of people going, what grants are out there for me? Or where can I find this? And I'm like, have you called your MP? Do you know that they can call their parliamentary secretary and they can get all this information for you? So they're there for, right? But in terms of us trying to leverage our voice, are there, I know you have an organization, are there organizations and groups that you feel that people in that farm to table sector should try to be a part of, especially women, to try to be a part of, so that our voices can be heard?
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, Dwania, that I would recommend certain organizations, but I also would be cautious that they each serve a different purpose. And so I can't say, and sure, I'd love to hear from your perspective, because you are a farmer. So you know, there are a ton of farmer organizations out there, but I wouldn't necessarily say they serve this entrepreneurial, you know, women in agriculture and food conversation like we're having necessarily, in the way that I think we need to have a group like that. It's kind of why I think of personally, one of the things that I would love to do, and it's something I'm starting in the new year, is this food common, this idea that the one thing we have in common besides breathing air and the weather, maybe complain about the weather, is that we all eat food. And we all have this relationship, as Aicha talked about, to our food, this experience, that connection. And there's so many incredible stories that are already out there, especially on social media. I'm just thinking of like Instagram as an example. And why not bring all these people, all of you all together in one space so we can have these conversations, leverage each other. And so that's why Food Common is a platform that I'm looking to create. But in terms of an organization that would support what you're saying, Dwania, about, knowing what grants and programs to fund or go to, what elected officials to reach out to, I can't say there's one organization. There's a number of organizations out there that I'd be happy to, if anyone wants to reach out, I'd be happy to share those individually for sure. But definitely know your ministers of agriculture. I think that's a huge one also. No, Lisa Thompson is our Ontario Minister of Agriculture. Marie-Claude Bubeau is our federal minister. Know those women. I think that's powerful in itself to know that we have some female leaders at the top of the political food chain in agriculture and food.
Definitely. Cheryl, I know you were unmuted. You probably want to jump in about some of any organizations that might have been helpful for you.
Yeah, and I would say I sort of echo what Christina says. Right? There's lots of organizations doing lots of things, and there's no really connective tissue between those. So you're kind of left on your own to bounce from one, and you hope somebody tells you about another, and then you hope that contact tells you about something else. And so OMAFRA is something, certainly if you're on the farm end and moving sort of farm to table, having those connections government-wise are really important, and knowing what they can do for you. They also know what funding is available if you've got a farm. So Canadian Agricultural Partnership. So if you're starting a food product, for example, there is funding that you can access to help with some of that. So being able to look at what's there, OMAF is certainly one of those places that you can go. And then it's really sometimes just finding through either women's networks or some of the other innovations. So Innovation Guelph is one that I've leveraged quite a bit. They have a women's program as part of that. RISE, I've gone through the RISE program, but also am a mentor now as part of that. And so there's again, it's like there's all of these, and sometimes you get into one and you want to ask people, okay, who else do I need to talk to? And sometimes they'll get you to the next person, but it really tends to be up to you to ask the right question about who else I need to talk to, and have them get you to the right individuals, because there are things available. It's just asking the right question of the right person at the right time.
That is true. I feel like that sentiment is echoed across all fields, because there needs to be like a hub and spoke model for a lot of these entrepreneurial circles that we have. Aicha, I don't know if there are any organizations that you have found useful in helping you get to where you are.
I just have to echo what's already been said. I agree with the other panelists, because there's tons of organizations, there's tons of programs. I went through the Women in Entrepreneurship program through Laurier. So there's university programs that offer entrepreneurship, and then there's tons of other ones. And like Cheryl said, it really is asking the right people at the right time and making sure that you're staying on top of it, because at the end of the day, you're the one that has to look out for your best interests, and like as an individual, and for your business as well. And if you're not pushing that on a regular basis, then other people have 100 things on the go also. So you have to make sure that your voice is heard. And for myself, I've met people, I can't even remember all of the groups. I'm so sorry. But I just meet people in different groups or different conferences. Like I have attended so many different things. And then I listen to what the panelists have to say or who's talking. And then if that sparks my interest, I will then reach out and do like a little intro email and say, hello, this is who I am. This is what I do. I'd be interested in having a conversation with you. If you have the time, please let me know, and then we can schedule that. So I do that constantly, all the time, anywhere, really. And I think that that's very important, is to go to these different types of conferences, programs, and look at it not only as an educational opportunity, but also as networking. Networking is so important because you never know what one conversation with one person will lead to another. And for myself, with how I started, I was not trained. I was just cooking out of necessity because I needed the money. And that was my skill that I had. That was, everyone wanted my food. So I said, let me just sell this because I need some gas. You know what I mean? And then it turned into all kinds of other things. And it showed me that I have so many other talents that I didn't know about. Public speaking, producing, creating Indigenous content, being able to convey information to other people so they can understand it. And you need to have the confidence in yourself as well. And going to all these different types of programs has really given me that confidence as well. Listening to other women talk about their stories, how their journey has brought them to where they are today, has been so inspiring and very helpful to me, because I didn't always have the confidence that was required to do what I need to do. So listening to other people and, getting those boosts and lifting each other up, that's so important as women in business, and just as human beings in general. I recently got a position with CBC as an associate producer, and that was from me cooking. Like, that was from developing those skills over a number of years. I never thought that that would be an option for me. And as you progress in your career, you're going to realize that you have so many other skill sets that you didn't know, and you're unlocking it each step that you take, each person that you talk to. And really,
you're also asking for all the things you want. So, she's producing. She's going to produce a food show, and then she's going to call me and tell me I need to taste test some things. I just know it's happening.
You can be the background.
I was saying, Aicha, you bring up a really good point that I think I really want to stress. So networking, like they say, like networking is your net worth. So I can't stress that enough. You said that too, and especially in food and agriculture, it actually is a very small world, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like everyone seems to know everyone. So what Cheryl said, like if you call up the Ontario Agriculture Food Ministry, OMAFRA, chances are someone's going to know someone and connect you to someone. So that's great. The second point you brought up, Aicha, about wealth. And I think that's where women, I wish the conversation around wealth happens so much more. And I'm going to do it with my daughter about our value, that it's not just a necessity to cook food or think about food or agriculture, that this is a way to actually make money and to bring wealth as a woman to not only ourselves and our families, but our communities, because women are generally in philanthropy. We donate more money when we have it. So I can't speak to that enough about, make sure that you charge what you're worth and more, and really bring that wealth conversation to this food and agriculture conversation, because there's so much to impact there that I think we can do so much more with. One organization too, I should mention, Canadian Food Innovation Network. I believe it's a relatively new organization, but I'm just thinking of some of the women that may be tuning in. That could be one of the organizations that you reach out to potentially for funding or connections. Sounds like we got a lot of work to do though, ladies, in terms of like some ideas about how to bring us more together and keep these conversations. Like there's so much work to do. So it's exciting. Let's put that way.
Another organization I could mention is Canadian Women in Food. Yeah. It was escaping my mind earlier. I'm so sorry. They are an incredible organization, and that platform for networking is amazing. You'll meet so many great people there. And, just keep your eyes open and look for all these different types of things, and just go enter that room. Even if you don't think that you should be there, just do it anyways.
Yes, Canadian Women in Food is really good. Foodpreneur Labs is a good one. But yeah, there are a lot of organizations. I just feel there needs to be one place where you can access a lot of this information, and that's where we're lacking. But for now, we just need to just talk to each other, be sure of what we want, make sure that we are using our voices to ask for what we want. Oftentimes, as women, we don't do that. I feel though the older you get, the more confident you are in asking for what you want. But start now. Who cares? Just ask, because you never know, right? I keep asking the taste test foods. You wait, it's going to happen. So I don't know if anyone in the audience has questions. We have 4 minutes. I did say this was like the quickest time period ever. But in those 4 minutes, what I would like to do, if I don't see any questions pop up, I would like to give the panelists one chance to really let us know anything you might have coming up and to leave us with some parting words. So I will start with Cheryl.
Oh gosh, coming up. Well, you can check us out. So you can check out the new venture, utterlyridiculousfarmlife.com. And on top of all the experiences, I'm bringing team building and corporate. So I'm marrying my old life with my new life and having some really great conversations. But in terms of advice, and I think Aicha and Christina, you're all sort of saying this in lots of ways when we talk about networking, but I'll make a little pinpoint on it, which is ask a lot of questions. And right at the beginning, I asked questions, but I wish I had have asked even more. So one of the things in starting a food company is I asked the question of so many people, like, why do people fail? Right? Why do people fail in this business? And I got an answer, right? They run out of money. But what I should have asked was about 5 follow-up questions, which is, why do they run out of money? At what stage do they run out of money? Doing what do they run out of money with? And so just being able to ask those questions and find someone who's already a little ways along, especially a woman entrepreneur who's maybe a little more willing to tell you the truth, and ask people for the truth, the hard, ugly truth, because it's easier to prepare for it and plan for it at the beginning than to be bombarded and hit with something you didn't expect later and having to try to pivot around that, or, to lose, time and money and effort. So asking more questions than you think is necessary is not a bad thing.
Wow, that is the truth. Thank you. Thank you. Christina.
Yeah, I feel like we could have so much to unpack, ladies. You could like do a whole separate just chat on like advice on what to do. So definitely like failure and taking risks. I wish someone had taught me that when I was like 18 or 20, to be like, the best things that you're going to learn come from failure or taking risks, and you don't know the answers to it, and then it works out. Like, I feel like I was so trying to plan things out strategically, and the things that I didn't plan for, or the things that came my way, like politics, are the things that were my greatest opportunities. And so just failure, be open to it, take risks. You are your greatest cheerleader or competition. Like, you get to decide where you take your ideas and where you go and what thought leadership you put out into the world. So don't hold yourself back. Be top of mind also in others. And so Cheryl, when she talked about the idea of networking, asking questions, like, be always pushing your brand and pushing yourself out to people. And I know as women that can feel really hard about being salesy. It doesn't have to be salesy. It can be just genuinely you passionately pushing out what you believe in, which is an utterly ridiculous product that tastes so damn good, and people are buying that passion because of it. So be top of mind, so then you get the speaking gigs like Aicha talks about, and you get your product purchased, and then you get maybe asked to be on a panel. And also, just from a business standpoint, I would, especially going into the recession I believe we may be going into, try to have multiple sources of income. And it's wonderful to hear Aicha and Cheryl talk about the different ways that they've created these ways to make money. That's probably the greatest business advice that I learned, was have the different ways to make money, so at any given time you can pivot according to pandemics, recessions, or whatever the hell goes on in life. So just some quick kind of business foodie angles there to talk about.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Aicha, parting words.
One thing I'd like to say is, you're going to be focused, you're going to be determined on whatever your end goal might be, but also be prepared for the fact that you're still a human being and you're living life. You never know what's going to happen in life. And I've had so many circumstances where I've been rocked off my path because specific things happen and it's just completely out of my control. It's been disappointing. It's been incredibly difficult. And I'm the hardest person in the world on myself. So I can be very discouraging to myself. And I just want to really encourage positive self-talk. And it's okay to take a break when you need to take a break. And then you just get back to it. I don't know how many times I said I quit, but it was for a moment. And then you move past it and you keep pushing for your goals. And when you have that really deep-rooted feeling in your heart and soul that you know that this path will eventually lead you to where you need to be, nothing can stop you. Even the things that you think would, they won't. It might take you a little bit more time. You might have to pivot, go a different direction. But eventually, as long as you keep that in your mind, you'll be okay. And even if it all falls to the floor, you'll still be okay, because it's happened to me a lot. And then that's where that pivoting comes in as well. It's from occurrences like that. So that's why I do pivot, because I realized catering wasn't going to be just enough for me. I realized I had to find those other ways and avenues in which I could generate revenue for myself and my business. So I think what Cheryl has said, what Christina has said is so utterly valuable. And really just hold tight and keep pushing.
And Aisha, I can't stress enough. This fall was an example for me. I decided to launch a course. I had no previous experience in doing that. It was a communications course. And it was one of those moments where I was like, because I was close to my due date and I was like, what the hell did I do here? Did I jump into something that I should not have did? I had no experience in it in terms of I knew the communications part, but I didn't know how to do an online course, and ended up launching it. I remember saying to myself, if I get one person to buy this course, I'm going to be I'm considering that success. And then I had over 30 people sign up. And I was like, you know what? It was a great example of pushing yourself well beyond your comfort zone. There was days where I was I wanted to give up halfway through recording all the material. I felt sometimes really pushy and salesy, even though I was this is what men do all the time and they love it and they feel good at it. So I'm so with you on that, push yourself beyond comfort, but also know too when to take that nap, take the rest when you need it, for sure.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would just echo that, be comfortable with change, because the world is constantly changing. And if you don't change, you die. Yeah. And so you've got to be comfortable with the fact that what you thought your plan was going to be might have to adapt. And that's not because you failed, right? So you talk about, fail fast, fail often, fail forward. And failing forward is an opportunity to say, how can I take what I've learned from this and just keep it moving, right? And we adapt and adapt and adapt. In innovation work, we look at how to, adapt quickly and how to really look at those things and say, okay, I'm really just prototyping here. And each prototype gets better. And it's a different variation or version of myself. But sometimes it's internal things that happen, and sometimes it's external, like a pandemic or a war that you can't control. And so it's how do you then look at that, be realistic about that, and say, how can I stay in the game? And don't take it as a personal failure. It's not. It's just a new iteration of you.
Yes. Wow, ladies, thank you. This has been, we could talk about this forever, as you can see. This has been wonderful. I do appreciate you lending your time to our event. Everyone, make sure you reach out to Cheryl, Christina, and Aicha. I will also follow up with their information, but it is in the chat. And ask them questions that you might have. This is your opportunity. Like Aicha says, sometimes you send a note on LinkedIn saying, hey, I saw you at this event and I had a couple of questions. Connect with them. So ladies, thank you very, very much. We are going to announce our winners next.
Woo! Bye.
Bye. Have a wonderful evening, ladies.
Thank you.
I am going to pull Melanie up on stage, and we are going to. So,
oh my goodness, what a day. I mean,
yeah, it was a great day.
So appreciative of everyone bringing their energy and expertise. I think at the beginning we were saying that I was saying that I was looking forward to and really appreciative of everyone who I knew was going to be here sharing their knowledge and expertise and their passion with us. And we definitely have seen that throughout the day, and just really appreciate the incredible advice that was just given by those three entrepreneurs who I'd never seen before or got to meet before. So it was really great to see that.
Yes, I definitely did enjoy it. Yeah, I'm definitely going to reach out, and I was taking some notes of what I'm reaching out for. So should we get into the things?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, very exciting. So I think I'm passing to you to announce our audience favorite.
Okay, so everyone, our audience favorite is, are we doing drum rolls together?
Yes.
The voting says the winner is Nani's Achar. Congratulations. You are definitely our winner for our audience vote. They loved your pitch.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yes, fantastic. And I think everyone wanted to run out and taste some achar like right away. Many people have probably learned what achar was today, and and we're really excited to go check it out. So amazing. A beautifully done pitch.
Definitely. Now I will announce the third place winner. The third place winner is also Nani's Achar.
Amazing. So yes, the judges agree with the audience. Beautifully crafted pitch, as I mentioned. Also, just a really amazing product, but also founder and your team, your family-based team, and what you're thinking about your growth and what that's going to look like. Clearly, you have a plan that you are going after. So we're all really impressed by the work that you're doing at Nani's HR. Oh, and that's me. Okay. I'm next. Okay. Fantastic. So really exciting. Audience favorite, third place. Amazing. So now we are going to announce our second place winner of the day, who is Street Food World. So Antonia from Street Food World. Yes. Congratulations. Again, judges very impressed by what you're doing. One of the judges had tasted your product and said it was super, super delicious and was excited to try more. So amazing job to you, Antonia.
Awesome. So before I go into the first place winner, Melanie, you were there with the judges. Can you let everyone know like how tough of a decision it was to select the top three?
Oh my goodness. So I know I had mentioned, all of the applicants for this event were incredible. Starting at that macro level, we were blown away by everyone. The semifinals were incredible. All of these finalists, you've put so much work into preparing for today. You also have put so much work into your companies, and that very much showed. So it was so incredibly tight. I can't even express how tight it was. It's just every company here today was incredible, and we loved what you're doing. If we could have given ties upon ties upon ties, we would have done so. So we're just so grateful to have met you all and been able to contribute to your journey going forward. And I think honestly, just reach out to any of the judges and people here today, and they're all going to be there to support you. So just wanted to definitely say that all of you were really great, and the judges had a very difficult time just pulling out minutia kind of elements and at the end of the day, we're like, well, we're just happy that they're all, that they're all here. We got to meet them, and we're all very happy with the first, second, third place, of course, and also for our other panelists or other pitchers here today. All incredible.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So now I am very happy to announce that the first place winner is Santi Sue. Let's get the natural reaction. I feel like an award show.
Fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, oh my God. My daughter's is celebrating with me over there.
Oh, yay.
Just help me package these teas. No.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yes. So anything you'd like to say, and like maybe talk about what you're going to be doing next?
There's so much we have to do to get ready for our launch, and there's a lot of exciting work that we're looking forward to. As you could tell during my pitch within that short time of 5 minutes, I just want to thank all the other pitchers. It was such an honor to be top 5 with all the ladies and just everyone overall. And I've learned so much today from so many of the workshops and the panels and the judges. And Melanie, thank you for putting this event on together. And it's just been such an absolute pleasure. And thank you for believing in me and my product. It's been a up and down roller coaster. And sometimes you just feel like it's not it, and maybe I shouldn't do it. And then, just keep going. That's all I have to say. Like, just really keep going and believing in yourself ultimately. And you don't know where we'll go. So
absolutely. Yeah. I know. I think it's Aicha was just talking about that, right, on the panel, that like there's moments where you're like, I don't know if I can continue with this. Like, this is a really bad month. This is a really bad day. This is a bad hour. This just like, it's difficult times. And then you push through, and people are there to support you, and you have community and spaces like this that help us kind of get through those moments and continue to be supported as we go forward in our journeys, which is why I love being a part of organizations and events like this, and getting to meet entrepreneurs like yourself. I'm really excited to try your tea. I already sent your your company name to all my friends, being like, go check it out. Actually, I sent all of the company names to my friends.
I know. I wish it was there in person so I could give everyone a taste, a cup. Like just so much different in-person events. So
yeah, maybe in the future.
Never know.
Gift each of you ladies one and send you a package.
Oh, you're too sweet. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. And congratulations again.
Thank you, everyone. I look forward to utilizing all the tools and resources you have coming forward and helping us with our launch. Miguel, Wopida, thank you.
Bye, Dwania.
Oh, this was great. Thank you to all of our pitchers. Like Melanie said, it was very close. You all did an amazing job. I mean, I am definitely quite pleased. I know Melanie is too.
Mm-hmm. It's a great way to spend a Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, it is. What? It's cold. You're not going anywhere, people. Let's be honest.
And it's International Women's Entrepreneurship Day, as I mentioned at the beginning, which I don't know that I even realized that coincidence until the last few weeks. And I think this is such a beautiful way to celebrate this day. And heard from so many different founders with different kinds of companies all over, or like from coast to coast. So yeah, it was a beautiful way to spend the day.
Definitely. And thank you again, everyone who attended. We do have a special reminder that one of our sponsors, the Canadian Women's Foundation, will have their Investment Readiness Program funding applications open on November 30th. We will be sending you information about that on email, but just so that you have mind. Thank you to everyone who contributed to the success of the event and our team. Thank you, Paul, Gabby, I'm saying this wrong, Josie, Isabel. That's the only way I can say it. Thanks to the CSBW Flow too for helping. Thank you to all of our sponsors, our partners, our pitchers, judges, workshop hosts, the behind the scenes team, and everyone. Really enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you next year, right?
Absolutely. We will see you next year. All right. Have a lovely rest of your day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.